Okay, The Phantom. I know earlier this year Nostalgia Critic did his pretty standard, he tore the film apart. Ironically, this is a fairly iconic sort of character where, like most characters who are made in like the 30s, he uses guns. His only real, true supernatural ability is kind of people think he's immortal, but actually he's like the 21st in a long line of people who essentially have taken on the moniker of the Phantom. He's also, ironically, the first superhero to have donned, the skin-tight bodysuit, and as well as the mask that doesn't show any pupils. So when you look at almost any other superhero who's in a skin-tight bodysuit with a mask that doesn't show pupils, I have a bunch of them all around me. They're called the Green Lantern Corps. Whoever wears a mask, you don't see their pupils. This originated pretty much from the Phantom. Now that being said, this movie is not all that bad. When you try to do movies that are based upon things from the 1930s and 40s and try to keep that sort of feel to them, there's a certain level of, I have to say, corny and family friendliness. They didn't want to have him taking guns, shooting people, and blood flying everywhere. This movie came out at the time when they were really trying to reintroduce certain superheroes kind of as more family friendly, not like today where, Batman, Iron Man, they've got a more darker, colder edge to them. This one is done fairly light. And I will have to agree, wearing, depending on your colorist, it's a light purple, almost like a lavender, up to like a really dark, deep purple. Probably not great for hiding in the jungle. I could see at nighttime you can blend in fairly well, but Now the premise of the story essentially is someone is on the quest for 3 different skulls. These skulls essentially give you unlimited power, essentially in the way of kind of like a laser. It kind of has that pseudo Indiana Jones Tomb Raider sort of feeling to it where, I've located the first one. Great. Now I found the second one. Awesome. Using these 2, I can find the location of the third if I'm in this room at this point in time during the day. Awesome. I now have all 3 skulls. I'm unbeatable. Oh, there's a 4th skull. Huh? That's more powerful than those 3 combined. So if the 3 skulls give you unlimited power, there's a 4th skull that's more superior than the previous 3, then therefore the ring the Phantom wears should give him unlimited power. Unless it's only in the defensive vein, at which point it only has unlimited power against the other 3 skulls, which also offer unlimited power. Yes, if you think too much in this film, it's going to entirely ruin it for you. This is also one of the few times Billy Zane is not a villain. I mean, that's interesting. The movie is essentially that. It's another one of those sort of treasure hunt sort of movies. You could tell certain scenes that were trying to be done a little more tongue-in-cheek kind of fall flat. When Billy Zane finally reveals himself to be the Phantom to Christy Swanson, and it's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to tell you my identity to the woman I'm going to marry. And she goes, okay, gets on a plane and leaves. I think that in a lot of ways, trying to keep a character who essentially is a guy with guns in the jungle who has a wolf, lives in a giant skull cave, and also rides a horse, if you try to do it way too bright, it does come off really, really goofy. They have mentioned they want to do another sort of the Phantom. Ironically, I found out they're actually going to do a redo of the Shadow as well. And they want it to be a little bit darker, a little bit grittier. And keep it more in the vein of kind of like, The Dark Knight. Could be interesting to see them, attempt to redo the Phantom and make it a little bit more darker, a little more of an edge to it. Because, a guy in all purple who uses guns, who beats people up, that might actually kind of work. there's a fine line between keeping it, the character, and having him become the Punisher. Because logically, he's got a skull ring, he uses guns, he dresses dark. If you have him use more guns, put him in all black, and move the skull from his hand to his chest, it's the Punisher, depending on how far you take the character. But the film that came out in the 90s, it's decent. There are a lot more worse films to watch. It is done child friendly to the point where I think even kids would find it to be kind of obnoxious. Somewhat. It kind of falls into that, Zorro 1 was really good. Zorro 2 tried to go too far to make it too kiddie friendly. So kids find it to be kind of dull, and parents just really didn't like it. The Phantom kind of falls in that gray area, where you're trying to be somewhat adult, but at the same time, have it work really well for the kids. And that's the Phantom.